words of our Lord Sri Aurobindo. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says to be constantly governed by the divine is a constant aspiration, for that is the first thing. Next is sort of stillness within, and a drawing back from the outward action into the stillness and a sort of listening expectancy, not for a sound but for the spiritual feeling or direction of the consciousness that comes through the psychic. With always our love and blessings, says our Lord, Sri Aurobindo. Sri Aurobindo Savitri, Book 5, The Book of Love, Canto 2, Satyavan, page 392. All she remembered on this day of fate, the road that hazarded not the solemn depths, but turned away to flee to human homes. The wilderness with its mighty monotone, the morning like a lustrous seer above, the passion of the summits lost in heaven, the titan murmur of the endless woods. As if a wicket gate to joy were there, ringed in with voiceless hint and magic sign, upon the margin of an unknown world, reclined the curve of a sun-held recess, groves with strange flowers like eyes of gazing nymphs, peered from their secrecy into open space, boughs whispering to a constancy of light, sheltered a dim and screened felicity, and slowly a supine inconstant breeze ran like a fleeting sigh of happiness over slumbrous grasses pranked with green and gold. Hidden in the forest's bosom of loneliness, amid the leaves the inmate voices called, sweet like desires enarmed and unseen, cry answering to low insistent cry. Behind slept emerald dumb remotenesses, haunt of a nature passionate, veiled, denied, to all but her own vision lost and wild. Earth, in this beautiful refuge, free from cares, murmured to the soul a song of strength and peace. Only one sign was there of a human tread, a single path shot within and arrow-like into this bosom of vast and secret life, pierced its enormous dream of solitude. Words of our Lord Sri Aurobindo, taken from the collective works of our Lord Sri Aurobindo books, Letters on Himself and the Ashram. Topic: Entering Sri Aurobindo's Path, page 5 40. Subtopic Acceptance as a Disciple. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says one's aspiration may be satisfied if he makes himself fit. Continue to read and practice daily meditation. In the meditation, one should concentrate first in an aspiration that the central truths of which one reads should be made real to him in conscious experience, and his mind open to the calm, whiteness, strength, peace, light, and ananda of the spiritual consciousness. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, all is possible if there is a true faith, a complete consecration, a sincere and pure aspiration, and a persistent endeavor. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says on 4th of August 1927, there is no one path for all. There is no one path for all. The nature of the aspiration expressed seems to indicate bhakti as a proper path. That path also is the quickest way, though none is easy. Everyone is to follow his own path and capable of it. The right thing for a seeker is to find the Guru destined for him. Usually, one who has been in search finds the way and the leader of the way long before the end of that period. Probably a more wholehearted and concentrated seeking is needed. Aspiration helps. But first, one should give fuller information and take some time to see whether he's really called to this way or another. And before he's finally accepted, it will be tested whether he's really capable and ready to give himself entirely to this aspiration.
Everywhere and always, nothing but love in the essence and in the manifestation.
Our Lord Sri Aurobindo continues to say this integral yoga implies not only the realization of God but an entire consecration and change of the inner and outer life till it is fit to manifest a divine consciousness and become part of a divine work. This means an inner discipline far more exacting and difficult than the ethical and physical austerities which are the rule at the other ashrams. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, he must not therefore enter this path, far vaster and more arduous than most of other yogas, unless he is sure of the psychic call and of his readiness to go to the end. If anyone wants the yoga of miraculous siddhis, they must go elsewhere. The object of integral yoga is a change of consciousness and opening into spiritual knowledge and experience and union with the divine. If any powers come along with this change, they are not to be used in a trivial manner. Sri Aurobindo is not anxious to increase the number of disciples, and only those are accepted who have the call and capacity for integral yoga and ready to satisfy the condition. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, you apparently should have a call and may be fit for integral yoga, but there are different paths and each has a different aim and end before it. It is common to all the paths to conquer the desires, to put aside the ordinary relations of life and try to pass from uncertainty to everlasting certitude. One may also try to conquer dream and sleep, thirst and hunger, but it is not a part of Sri Aurobindo's yoga to have nothing to do with the world or with life, or to kill the senses or entirely inhibit their action. It is the object of this integral yoga to transform life by bringing down into it the divine light, power, and bliss of the divine truth and its dynamic certitude. This integral yoga, says our Lord, is not a yoga of word shunning asceticism but of divine life. Your object, on the other hand, can only be gained by entering into samadhi and ceasing in it from all connections with the world existence. You cannot get help in this path from Sri Aurobindo. You must go on to someone else in order to find a guru. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says the whole question is whether one has the call or the capacity of doing this yoga. No one is initiated in this yoga in any formal way. Those are accepted by the Divine Mother who have found to be called and or chosen from within for this path or for Sri Aurobindo's work. That acceptance is sufficient. Those who are considered as called or chosen, who can open and be receptive to the power that goes from her here and can feel its working. If by doing what he is doing now, he can in time thus open and receive and feel the power, that will be a sign that he is meant for this way of integral yoga. Nothing else is needed. Prayer and aspiration are sufficient if there is sincerity and a true call within. At present, mind seems to be under too many conflicting influences to take up integral yoga with a single mind, to give up everything and to come here even if he were accepted. Even if he came, he would be pulled backwards by these influences. A divided nature is the worst possible condition for this path. It is better if he exhausts the desires of the ordinary nature before he takes up the spiritual life. If at any time he feels them fallen back from him and only the spiritual attraction left, he can then take up the spiritual life, though it would still remain to be decided which path was the right one for him. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, Sri Aurobindo's path of integral yoga is a very difficult one, and there are others that are much more easier to follow and might suit one's nature better. But whichever path it is, yoga asks for a one-centered endeavor, and until that can be given, a preparation like that which is spontaneously undergoing is all that is possible. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, everybody must be made to understand clearly that this is not a sadhana of emotional and egoistic bhakti, but of surrender. One who makes demands and threatens, if the demands are not complied with, is not meant for this yoga. Also, they must understand that they may not consider that they have a right to be called here at their own demand, either for darshan or for permanent residence. Question: am I fit to do or for Sri Aurobindo's yoga? Will he take me up? For this question, our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, if by yoga you mean integral yoga, leading towards the supramental realization, you have not at present the capacity for it. All you can do at present is some preparation for it by bhakti and self-dedication through karma. If into this preparation you put a strong sincerity and a settled psychic aspiration, then one day you will be ready for more. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, if one perseveres with sincerity and same discriminate correctness of vision, he is sure to progress. The sadhana is difficult one and time should not be grudged. It is only in the last stages that a great and constant rapidity of progress can be confidently expected. As for Shakti, the descent of Shakti before the vital is pure and surrendered has its own dangers. It is better for one to pray for purification, knowledge, intensity of the heart's aspiration, and as much working of the power as he can bear and assimilate. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says the spiritual life is only for those who have a single minded or else a dominant turn towards it sufficient to carry them through all its struggles and difficulties. An awakening of the soul, not a turning of the mind only, is one sure sign of a call to yoga. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, if one has fear, it would be better not to try to do sadhana. It is a difficult yoga, and faith and a steady and quiet will, courage and strength are necessary if one is to follow it. One can meditate and put oneself into spiritual relation. If anything opens in him, then he is capable of doing yoga. A single minded concentration may help in preparing one to present to give for the purpose. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, the experiences are clear evidence to have the capacity for integral yoga. And Lord Sri Aurobindo says the first decisive experience in this yoga are a calm and peace that is felt first somewhere in the being, and in the end in all the being, and in the descent of power and force into the body, which will take up the whole and transform mind, life, and body into instrumentation of the divine consciousness. Much has to be done before they can be established or persistently effective, but they should come at this stage as a clear proof of capacity to receive it. However, they should remember that this yoga is not easy and cannot be done without the rising of many obstacles and much lapse of time. So, if you take it up, must be with a firm resolve to carry it to the end with a wholehearted sincerity, faith, patience, and courage. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says it is the consciousness of the Divine Mother that he must unite, and there too a sincere self consecration in mind and heart and will is the means for that. The work given by the Mother is always meant as a field for that self consecration. It has to be done as an offering to her so that the self offering may come to feel her force acting and her presence. What you say about those whom we receive, that if one part of them is sincerely desiring the divine, we give them their chance. It is quite true. If we demanded more at the beginning, exceedingly few would be able to commence their journey towards the divine. All yoga is difficult, because the aim in every yoga is to reach the divine, to turn entirely towards the divine, and that means to turn away from the ordinary moments of the nature or something beyond it. But when one aspires with sincerity, the strength is given that ends by surmounting the difficulties and reaching the goal. Our Divine Mother was speaking of the sadhak, says our Lord, who had entered into the life and atmosphere of the ashram and felt the touch on the psychic of what is here. It does not apply to those who have come here from outside world but still belong to outside. One needs to give this psychic to make that connection, absorb that influence, which would fix the feeling of this as its true home. People can come here, stay for a long time, and go without any difficulty as they have done. The feeling of difficulty or uneasiness in going is, on the other hand, a sign that the soul has taken root here and finds it painful to uproot itself. There are some who are like that and had to go, but do not feel at ease as they are always thinking of how to come back as soon as possible. To help others without egoism or attachment, leaving the spiritual surroundings and spiritual life is one thing. To be pulled away by personal attachment or the need of helping others to the outside life is different. The special concentration is intended to bring the experience. During the experience, the attitude of witness should be kept with rejection of anything that might disturb the experience. It is early to say. One has to continue with aspiration and endeavor. And there are two stages in life. One is preparation, and the other one is the actual intensive sadhana. It is the first that one can undertake. In this stage, aspiration in the heart with prayer, bhakti, meditation, a will to offer the life to the divine are the important things. Purification of the nature is the first aim to be achieved. There should be no over eagerness for experience, but such as comes should be observed, and if helpful to the right attitude and true development, accepted. All that flatters the ego or feeds it should be rejected. There should be no impatience if the progress is slow or difficulties are many. All should be done in a calm patience, full reliance on the Divine Mother. This period tests the capacity of the sadhak and the sincerity of his aspiration towards the divine, says our Lord Sri Aurobindo. Special path. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo said on 29th July 1927, this integral yoga is a special way to a high and difficult spiritual achievement. It is given only when there is sufficient evidence of capacity or an irresistible call. Inner peace is not its object, that is only elementary for its conditions, says our Lord. Prayers and Meditations, July 18, 1914. Two things remain unshakable despite all storm winds, even the most violent, the will that all may be happy with the true happiness, thine and the ardent desire to unite perfectly and be identified with thee. All the rest is perhaps still the result of an effort and a pretension. This is spontaneous, unshakable. When it seems that the ground is giving way and everything breaking down, this appears luminous, pure, and calm, piercing through the clouds, dispelling the shadows, emerging still greater and stronger from the ruins, carrying in itself thy infinite peace and beatitude.